Hello my friends and welcome back to Player Display. So we just had a look at the Jokerized Batman from McFarlane along with the Two-Face as Batman, who of course we could see right here. And when I did that review, I was very outspoken about how much I really do love the figure as it originally was, but the one thing I really wanted to do was make him a cape. So obviously I did a cape. Then I did a little bit more, so I just wanted to go over that in this fresh custom showcase. So I guess the best way to start is, when I was originally recording clips for this video, I thought I was doing a cape tutorial, but that kind of got a little bit messy, so I'm just going to give you guys a few quick clips, the highlights from all of that, just so you can have an idea of how to make a cape. If you want a more succinct tutorial, I recommend looking for someone else, just because I am not the best at making capes, and pretty much the videos I did with this was full of a lot of trial and error. I'll talk about that a little bit here as well, because this is the final result. But anyways, let's cue the reel. Hello my friends and welcome back to Player Display. I'm going to get rid of this cape and make a brand new one out of soft goods. So ultimately, this is all going to funnel into a tutorial. Nope. Make like a semicircle. You can use like a plate or something round as a stencil effectively. Obviously watch your fingers. Those are very important to your customizing abilities. So we have the peg in there. I'm going to do my best to hold this up to the light. There we go. So that's the first incision we needed to make, and now you can kind of see we have that more of a trapezoid peg, I suppose. We're gonna kind of pull as we just kind of not even apply that much pressure, just slowly slide the blade. Yeah, I'm breaking my rules. I'm kind of cutting towards myself a little bit. Oops, there we go. Again, make it just a little bit bigger than the actual template you're working with. So I'm not even going to do straight lines, because if you do that, you can see if I drag with the marker, it pulls the fabric with it, and it just ruins the rest of your stencils. I'm just going to be doing some dots around this particular template that I'm working with. You can see there is now like a dotted pattern going around the cloth. We can move it now. Slow and steady bursts. Okay, there we go. Alright, we'll slide down a little bit to get us started. Well, me started anyways. So I'm thinking the best way to do this is probably anchor the wire down right at the corners of the necks. Yeah, this isn't going to be a fun process. That's the thing. I don't like making these capes. It's more a matter of just getting to the end result. Oh, I don't know what happened. Alright, you know what I'm learning today? I actually suck with needle and thread, so I'm just going to glue it the whole way through. For results, I recommend being more patient with the needle and thread, but I'm not that guy. Alright, now here's a point where I need to make it very unique and intimidating. So, at the end of the day, this is what I wound up with, and he looks a lot better than how he looked before. He definitely had a case of having too much candy red on one side, and then the other side, the black part, looked really good, but it had like the blue wash exclusively on the mask and then also on the torso, but then that was kind of it. And for me, that left a lot to be desired. But this was a figure that I really thought was worth taking above and beyond, so I guess we'll just start with the blue that I did, because obviously he's no longer slate black. This side of his head is unchanged, so if you pop in a little bit, you can see that they did that blue wash, which really does help to accent the black. And I did that exact same blue as a wash on the red as well, so it brings everything together a little bit, while still giving him that duality between the red and the black, of course. Down to the torso, again, that's unchanged, although I did add a little bit more blue up here around the bat insignia. But then I also continue it down to the arm as well, but then I stopped at the gauntlet, which I wanted to remain glossy, but I did give that a gray wash, so it's a little bit varied. Exact same thing going down the leg, got some blue accent work on the legs, but then again, just light gray wash on the boot to keep the gloss, and same goes for the red portions off to the side. Exact same color, just the blue was not as heavily applied. And if you want to do a mod similar to this, at least as far as paint is concerned, I thought it would be worth bringing out the paint that I use. This is what I always use when I'm doing acrylic work. It's not the best paint ever. It's better for basic weathering. I wouldn't recommend it just for like painting a figure, like just totally color changing it. But yeah, Art Advantage acrylics. This is the tallow blue. No idea
English!
what that is. But yeah, these are very good paints. Really good tubes, very big, very hefty. They come on Amazon pretty cheap, and they can last you a good few years, maybe more than that. So I definitely highly recommend it. But it's as basic as paints can come. I definitely more recommend them for giving things a wash or doing some weathering. If you plan on just painting it completely, like if I just wanted to paint this entire thing solid blue, that's what I would not recommend. That's when I'd say you'd bring out a spray paint, so that way it looks a little bit more clean. For an acrylic paint like this, it comes out looking a little bit more rowdy, a little more scratchy, which is kind of what I intended. And I also did no sealer at all. Whenever I'm doing weathering, I usually opt to just forget about sealer. I just don't find it necessary. And if you leave it exposed, it kind of adds to the more weathery look and feel. So I kind of left that as it was. So as far as the body is concerned, I guess the last thing that I did do is I did apply hot water. So I'm going to move the cape out of the way, and you'll see I did fix the arm fins over here on this gauntlet. They're no longer warped. And also I did resurrect that stiff joint. It's still stiff, but click the arm all the way back and you will see that joint finally does move. So, but that wasn't without the lack of trying. When I dropped in the hot water, I definitely had to find myself moving it in, out, until I felt like it was finally able to move on its own. You kind of got to baby it so the plastic can kind of conform or chip a little bit on the inside, whatever's going on in there. But now all the joints move, which is fantastic. Now, I guess the next thing we'll talk about is the cape. So, obviously, he did some things with the weapons, as you can see here, but we'll talk about that just a little bit later. So, let's put them out of the way for now. So you just saw the reel of the failed tutorial that I did when I'm trying to explain how to make a cape. Hopefully it taught you a few things, but there's just better tutorials out there. Capes are not my expertise, but at the end of all that, I wound up weathering it with the same exact blue. I did it on both sides. It's not very apparent on the black. And I also did all the seam lines with some crazy glue. I'm actually going to order some fabric glue because I anticipate once I get that Batman 6-pack, I'm probably going to want to do the same wire treatment with all of them as well, especially since they already come with soft goods, so might as well just tweak it from there. You can see I coiled it around the neck over here, just added a little bit of glue, stuck right in place, looks fantastic, and I also gave it a whole lot of tattering. And to get tatters like this, it's pretty simple. All you gotta do is pinch it vertically like this, get some scissors, and just cut out like a very slim morsel along that fold, and then you'll get little holes and pockets like this. Like this one's a little bit bigger, definitely worth having them vary in size and in dispersion. You don't want it to be like polka dots or anything, you want it spread out. Then down at the bottom I just cut out some triangles. That's something I might actually go back to redo just a little bit, make it a little bit more triangulish, I guess, but as it is, it's not so bad either. And as for the wire, as I discussed a little bit in that video you saw, it's fantastic. It looks really great. Sometimes a little bit of the cloth that's pinning down the wire comes undone. I just have to go back in with glue. That's kind of par for the course when you're making custom capes like this, but let's put it back so we can get the full span. Again, I did have to cut it a little shorter than I preferred in the tutorial, but ultimately, I actually really love the size. I actually like that it's a little more hiked up. It's not foot level or ground level even. It just makes him a little bit more unique, more distinct from our typical Batman, right? But yeah, fully posable. You can do whatever you want with him. You can get him more idle if you'd like. Looking really good. And it is worth mentioning that of course, I kind of planned on doing a video on an update on this figure's progress anyways, but somebody did recommend in the comments that I go ahead and do one just because they were very eager to see the results, and I hope this is pleasing them because I really love what I did here. Would I do it again? Yes, but only because now I know what I'm doing. I've never made a cape this advanced before. Usually I just get third-party ones on eBay. There's a very good market out there, but I didn't suspect there would be any market for a Two Faces Batman cape. That's a very specific endeavor because, of course, you've got it bisected down the middle, and even here it's not perfect. Like there's still a little bit of a gap in there that I got to fix. You can see there's a lot of glue excess I kind of poured on there. So mistakes were made, but ultimately, when in doubt, for me, if I make enough mistakes, I just weather the whole damn thing, and then it doesn't become noticeable, right? And then I also had those little and they're still a little bit visible. Like the places where the glue adhered to the cardboard in the back, those kind of bled. That kind of bled through, but I hit it with the weathering, so it looks like it's a little bit more heavily dirtied on the front edge over there. So that helps it to disappear a little bit, which is a good tip that I recommend to you. I guess the last thing I did on the figure itself is I worked on the belt. There are very sparing images online of this particular character. Every time I try to look up Two-Face in this Batman suit, I find myself always having more trouble than before. But I have seen him with either the bisected black and red belt or with a gold belt. So I decided to do that with the markers that I used in that Boba Fett model kit tutorial, if you've caught that in recent weeks. But yeah, I used the same marker, did some layers. The one thing that I still need to do is go in with some red and some black to fix up the pouches. But that being said, I also use a silver marker to fill in those little buttons, so those are a little bit more pronounced. You can even like do red on these buttons, then black on those buttons. Again, this is all kind of just creative fun. I'm not trying to keep completely comic accurate, kind of just enhance a pre-existing design. It's not the most conventional or familiar. Oh yeah, and going back to the cape, obviously I was successful in having it kind of be dual layered. I just happened to have the right shirt at the right time, where you see here it's red on this side, and then it just so happens to be black on this side, then vice versa for how it is on the left, which I really do love. So that's it for the figure, and now we'll move on to his guns, which I have. So the first thing I did, I think I was utilizing this McFarlane revolver, which came from the weapons pack version 2. What I did is I actually wrapped up the grip in a masking tape, and then I actually stuck this into a big block of foam to hold it up as I actually hit it with some Krylon spray paint. So now I have like a silver Colt, I suppose, and that holds in his hand just like it did before. So we can go ahead and throw that in. No problem. The paint's still a little bit gummy, so I'm trying to be careful with that. Obviously it was not, but I really love that. And I kind of used images from Batman Forever, of all things, to kind of influence me wanting to have him with two different types of guns, like one revolver, then one Glock, I guess. So here we have another gun. I actually have two of these now, as you saw before. Actually, not before. Before he had the revolver and then one of these, but I do have two now. These are both from the McFarlane Weapons Pack version 1, and neither of these came with these blast effects. They actually came from the Walgreens exclusive Marvel Legends Scarface, where he came with two blast effects for a sawn-off shotgun, as well as two smoke effects, like he just shot off a bullet at Spider-Man or Punisher or whoever. But then once you have these, as long as you have a Dremel, they're pretty universal. You can get them in almost any gun you want. So for each of these pistols here, I Dremeled in a hole, and now I can just port these on as I wish, like so. So we get the firing effect. Then I can also remove that and then get the smoking effect, like you just shot off a shot. And then it doesn't go as far in as blast effect does, but it still works, so it looks really cool. So you know what, we'll go ahead and I know it's a weird angle, but we'll slot that in as well. And I don't remember if he had trigger fingers before or if I had to cut those with an X-Acto. No, I think they were already trigger fingers, but yeah, so for any other figure where he doesn't have a trigger finger, then just get a knife and then you're fine. But yeah, I really like that look. Unfortunately, could not do the same Dremel treatment with the Colt as I was hoping to do. It's just way too small. The peg wouldn't have worked. I guess I could use some like poster tack or something, but I'm okay with having one that's fired off, the one that's more idle. It kind of represents his dual personality. You have one that's more pacifistic and you have one that's more aggressive. So it's fitting that we have the shiny, pristine gun on the more human looking face. Then as for the one that had the acid spill, that's where he had the gun and that's doing all the dirty work. So I don't know, I'm kind of okay with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this little showcase. Again, not a whole ton of changes, kind of things that we've already talked about in showcases in the past, but just a few things that you could do for this figure and then other figures as well. Again, this cape was especially difficult to do, but if you are looking to do capes yourself, based on the clips I did before, that's definitely a much more elaborate process. For most characters, you don't have to worry about bisecting the cape. You don't even need wire if you don't want to, but really, as long as you can cut out the general shape, then you pretty much have a cape for any character that you wish. And then from there on out, you could just add whatever you'd like, whether it be the wire or a trim or anything like that. But this is the cape that I wound up with, but there are a lot more clean and a much more well done tutorials out there if you'd like to seek them out. I mean, it's a years long tradition of people figuring out how to make nice definitive capes for their figures, but as for this one, I'm head over heels for it. Mistakes were made, but I really love how this guy turned out. So that's a cap on this. I really love this figure, and I hope you like him too. Let me know if you want to implement any of these mods yourself, if you have any other ideas of how you could tweak this Two-Face and Batman Disguise figure. That's one thing I really do love about the McFarlane figures, as much as I've kind of stated my opinions on the line. As weird and murky as the release ethics can get, we get some really interesting designs and ideas like this that do allow us customizers to have a little bit more fun. At least that's how it is for me. So anyhow, if you enjoyed this little showcase, then please, as per usual, be sure to like, comment,
and subscribe.
Or I shall inject a dose of hallucinogens so you may see our point of view. Well, that is certainly out of the ordinary. Perhaps I ought to give it another shot. See what I did there? A lot of more interesting things to come. As you saw, I just released part 1 of 4 of my Pod Guy podcast, going through a tier list of 150 plus Star Wars characters, so I still need to refine the last 3 clips for that, and those should be posted throughout the week, maybe all tonight, I have no idea. Then we also have a whole lot of figures on board. One thing that I'm not going to try doing anymore is promising certain reviews. Like, there's certain exceptions, but I find that the more figures I promise, the less chances that I'll actually get around to all of them, so it's more just going to be impulse. But if I kind of mention a figure in passing that you really want reviewed, then absolutely let me know and I will do it. I mean, otherwise it's kind of just going on impulse based on what comes in, what goes out, and whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much all. So hope you're enjoying your Monday, hope you have a great week, rock on, and I will see you all later. Like, for me, the way I'm seeing McFarlane figures these days is they're kind of pseudo model kits. Take that for what you will, but a lot of the McFarlane figures that I get, it's usually because I look at them and I don't necessarily say, hey, that's a really good figure, more so, hey, this is a really cool template for customizing and making it my own. So there's many ways you could view that prospect.